This is an old and very much used toolbox we are going to try to restore. We can see at a first glance that it is pretty rusty. The old label identifying its manufacturer cannot be read anymore. But the worst part is underneath here, where corrosion hit real hard. The inside is a little better, but also needs attention. We have got a little blob of solder from pristine times. Here we have these holes through which small components and screws can slip and get lost. What we need to do is to remove the existing paint and get rid of the rust. And all of a sudden here we have it. After much scraping, sanding, grinding and wire brushing, we have a nice bare metal toolbox. The bottom, however, will need a treatment with a rust converter, since we cannot remove the corrosion from these cavities with sandpapers and wire brushes. We are lucky that the corrosion did not get all the way through. The rest of the box is okay. I used a solvent-based paint stripper to get rid of most of the paint, especially on the inside where sanding and brushing is a little more difficult due to the recesses and such. Notwithstanding a bit of paint residue I did not care to remove stubbornly clung to the metal. Now we are ready for the primer and I will make an hypnotic gesture, and presto! This is the first coat. I decided to use a paintbrush instead of spraying cans because I am using paint left over from other projects. On the bottom I applied the rust converter which also doubles as a primer. I am not happy with the cavities left by the corrosion, so I am going to try to cover that with polyester putty. I applied putty with an old credit card as a squeegee. Then I sanded it down with a sand block until I got a smooth and flat surface. Due to my absolute lack of experience using this thing, it turned out to be a mess. A bit of putty ended up on the top and proved to be very hard to remove. On the inside though I applied putty to the holes and they ended up perfectly plugged. I used a 200-something grit sandpaper to remove part of the brush marks. It did not leave a very smooth surface though. I'll go on and apply paint on top of the primer. And here we have it. Brush marks galore, and bubbles. On the inside the paint on the hinges gets scraped by the moving lid. Here B runs. On the bottom we are left with apparent scars from the corrosion we managed to stop and many other cosmetic problems that the camera fortunately does not show. I will try to correct some of those problems and apply one more coat. But I do not believe there will be much improvement on that department. I would certainly get better results with spraying cans and a matte finish, but unfortunately the Sustain Wetted Men Bridled Organization, aka SWMBO, a very strict law enforcing body, revoked my license to spray paint around the house. Paraphrasing the adage, a paintbrush and paint show the painter I ain't. On the bright side of the road, the box is now in a much better condition than when it was at the mercy of corrosion. Now it can be used as a container for an electronics first aid kit for instance and be useful for decades to come. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and stay beautiful.